Hello and welcome to the second part of an extra special Deceptive Reality podcast. I am Nick. And with me is the supernal bird.
Supernal?
Do you know what that one is?
I have no clue. It's safer than the last one.
Super in it. Yeah, this one's safe. They're all safe.
Yeah, not with me.
But this one's got super in it, right?
It does have super.
Like it's got to be good. So this means exceedingly splendid.
I'm all about it. Listen, that's exciting stuff right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Heck yeah. Not nearly as exciting as the stuff we're about to expose people to.
Yeah, that's the truth. We told you in the last part, you had to come back for part 2. And if you're watching this as part 2, stop. Mm-hmm. Collaborate and listen and go back to part 1. Okay.
I like that.
Because you're going to have to go back. Because trust me, if you start from here, you're going to be lost.
Oh, yeah. You'll still be lost. But
I say this every time. Mm-hmm. And we get more watchers on the second one than the first one.
Every damn time.
And I've seen
it in action.
It makes no sense.
And it's not just on YouTube. It's on all the different platforms we're on. Oh. Second one gets more watches or listens.
I think I just figured it out.
Yeah.
They come and they watch. They stop, go to the first one, come back. We technically get 2 views off of it.
Oh, that's probably what it is. How did we not figure that out before? Why did we not think of that
until right now, Nick?
Ah, dang it. We're dumb.
We are kind of dumb. I feel kind of dumb just now saying that. Just now figuring it out. We might cut that.
No.
We already have people who think we're dumb.
We are. That's fine. We are dumb. That's why we need our viewers to assist us in solving these cases.
That's right. You need to speak up, folks. Stop leaving us in the dark. Good night.
Yeah, help us out.
Can't believe you never figured that out till just now, Nick.
I know.
God,
I never would have.
I don't know why in the world I didn't think of that. But anyway, this one has some cliffhangers. There's going to be 4 total segments, 3 calls.
Oh, yeah.
And all the 3 calls gets crazier as it goes by.
Yeah.
And also in the comments down below, I typically don't tell anyone to do this. Pause it when you get to the end, when the narration starts, and tell us in the comments what you think the person said and what do you think it means.
You can do it repeatedly after every call if you want. If you want to leave 3 comments, you do it.
We don't care about that. Leave as many, because I'm really curious what other people's going to say these comments are.
Yeah.
I'm super curious. If there's ever an episode I'm curious on, it's this one.
Oh, yeah, because we need help with this one. I don't know what's going on. It's like I say at one point, I don't remember when I said this, but it's cohesive and not cohesive.
Yes.
It makes sense and it doesn't make sense. But there's an authenticity to the whole darn thing.
You know what I'd be curious about is if somebody left a comment on tape 2.
Right.
And said, this is what I think it means. And then they go to tape 3 and they leave another comment saying, I think this is what it said. And I think this is what it means. And then tape 4, I'm curious how that would change as time progressed.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
That's the only thing that sucks. Like if we did this live, Nick, we would have real-time data.
I know.
I don't know. But listen, it's been an entire week. Y'all forget stuff. Y'all a bunch of forgetful Nancys over here. So all I'm going to say is check this out.
Steven Sudbrink, lost in the haze of excitement and anticipation, drove alone down the winding roads toward Long Island, New York. The morning sun cast a warm glow over his dashboard as he replayed the events that lay ahead of him. His own wedding, a momentous day. As Steven's thoughts drifted to vows and celebrations, a flash of movement caught his eye in the rearview mirror. A car was approaching fast, gaining on him in quick spurts. It felt familiar in some way he couldn't place, and an odd sense of recognition washed over. How long will you be away? Gary offered vague answers, hoping the man would lose interest. Then a stewardess approached, informing the stranger that he was still in the wrong seat. The man reluctantly stood, only to pause a few steps away, lingering beside the emergency exit. With each moment that passed, his gaze grew more intense, his questions more insistent. How do you spell your last name? He pressed, leaning in slightly. When exactly will you return to Texas? Gary, maintaining a mask of politeness, refused to answer. He avoided eye contact, his mind racing as he wondered what this man could possibly want.
So the stewardess comes over, and the stewardess like, "Sir, you're sitting in the wrong seat. You got to go. This guy's seat." So he gets up and he goes to the other side of him, and he starts talking to him again.
Right.
"How do you spell your last name?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm not giving you my last name, okay?"
Yeah, you're getting way too intimate with me on this plane here.
Right. Now think about it. When you're getting on a plane and you're trying to get to your destination, other people's trying to get to their destination, they don't want this kind of stuff. They just want to get in their seat, sit down, get your seat belt, prepare to take off. But now you've got this guy that's getting in everybody's way.
And I'd be getting mad.
I'd be getting frustrated, yeah. But he sits there and
get in your darn seat.
Exactly. But he's sitting there, he's like, "Dude, like, it's not going to happen." So now the stewardess comes over again.
Heck yeah.
And you get a t-shirt that says that we're a doggone professional podcast company.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gotta say doggone.
That's right.
On it
Doggone's got to be in there.
That's right.
Well, are you ready to hear the next phone call, Nick?
I sure am. Ready and willing.
Let's go.
What is your question? Yes, speaking. Yes. Can I answer any questions for you?
Oh, you're back from Texas?
Not back yet, no.
How long have you been back from Texas?
Let me answer. First, you tell me, where are you calling from?
This is Gary Sudbrink.
Yeah, why don't you tell me where you're calling from?
Who is this?
What do you mean, who is this? You should know who it is. It's me, Gary. Wait, let me ask you this question. Where are you calling from? Okay, I'll be back. Excuse me? I can't hear too well. Yeah, it is a full moon out. That's true. Could you identify yourself? Identify yourself. Why are you calling me? Excuse me? I cannot hear too well.
Get on the other phone, it's better.
Hold on, let me switch phones. Okay. Okay, hold on. Now, who are you? Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Can I talk to him?
Shh.
I had a sighting.
Okay, hold on. Say that. Repeat that again. Please repeat. Okay. Near Orion.
Holy mackerel. Tonight or guess on when?
The full moon.
They told
Double from the church.
Repeat.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
Okay. Repeat last word. I'm hearing static.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
He hung up.
He hung up.
Hello?
The same eerie voice greeted him, but this time it sounded weaker, as though struggling to stay connected. Its distorted tone wavered, fluctuating between barely audible whispers and harsh, grating static. "Keep an eye on the skies," the voice murmured, the words dragging out slowly. "Orion." The mention of Orion caught Gary off guard, and his father, who had been listening nearby, stiffened. Gary's father, long fascinated by UFO sightings, leaned in, his eyes lighting up with both dread and intrigue. He had recently recounted his own encounter, a strange sighting in the skies over West Virginia, a faint but distinct hovering light that moved with deliberate, unnatural speed. The memory of that night had haunted him, an event he'd never quite understood. Gary relayed the voice's words, his father's expression shifting from confusion to a kind of dark fascination. For him, this wasn't a prank or a game. This was a message. The voice continued, echoing across the line with a chilling, deliberate cadence. "Watch, Orion, the full moon." The faint, broken tone sounded like the transmission of a dying signal, a voice calling from far beyond reach. Gary's father, transfixed, leaned closer, muttering that this could be no coincidence. His son wasn't the target here, he reasoned. It was him. The voice was reaching out, delivering a warning, or perhaps a call to witness something cosmic, something unknowable, waiting in the skies above. In the heavy silence that followed, Gary and his father exchanged a look of shared dread. The voice on the line, with its cryptic warnings and strange knowledge, had stirred something in both of them. A fear that this message from the stars was only the beginning.
Oh, that's a pretty wild one.
And it makes less sense than the first one we listened to, Nick.
Yeah, it's a little less menacing. Well, I guess it's a lot quieter too, but it sounds like they just want them to look and see something.
That's the thing. There's not enough words to really know. Like it's almost like it's someone learning the language for the first time.
Yeah, it's still stuck on how long are you back from Texas? Like it can't quite get that sentence right, which is really weird.
Right. But it got his name right.
Yeah, that's right. It's been practicing that.
Yeah.
But to me, if I had heard that and it was a full moon that night,
yeah,
I'd go out and I'd train my telescopes towards like Orion's belt.
Right.
Which is funny, by the way, because you mentioned that bug from Men in Black.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that little alien said inside the guy's head? He was like, the universe is on Orion's belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that I thought that was interesting especially since how you were relating that earlier.
Well, that little thing that the cat had around his neck, that was Orion. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is interesting.
When did Men in Black come out?
That's a good question. I can look that up.
Because this happened in 1992. I'm wondering if there's did it come out before 92?
Let's see. When did... So that was... Oh, this was when, did you say?
1992.
So Men in Black was way after.
Wow, that's crazy.
97.
Wow.
Because I was kind of wondering that when I was listening to it. Because I wonder if they didn't take some cues from this.
It's possible.
Man, that's quite wild. It even sounds like that guy's voice, like you said.
It does. It sounds just like that guy. What was it? He was always
sugar.
Was it sugar? It was sugar, right?
Yeah, he really wanted sugar. Yeah.
There was something he kept drinking or eating. MIB alien.
So you think we got a bug here?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense.
We gotta hunt this guy down.
And that's the weird thing, because like this time he made reference to a full moon. He made
which I think they said it is a full moon that night. Didn't they say that?
Yes. Something like that, yeah.
So he was talking about that night.
Sugar water.
Yeah.
I really want to I really want to add that, but I'm sure we'll get copyright claims, so I can't.
Yeah.
Dang, man. Because he does sound, for any of you that's watching or listening to this, you need to go listen to that guy say, "Her me some sugar water."
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds a little bit like
It
this.
sounds a little bit like him. And like when I think of the way this guy's talking,
Yeah.
it would be kind of along the lines of what the guy sounded like in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, the interesting part I took from this too, at one point it asked him, "Who is this?"
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Well, you should know. You know a lot about what's going on." But that's probably a question, if he's been impersonating
Right.
Gary, that a lot of people have asked him, "Who is this?"
Yeah.
So he's saying it back to Gary and probably using Gary's answer
Right.
when he impersonates him, right?
Right.
So he calls up someone to impersonate Gary and they're like, "Who is this?" He's like, "You should know who this is."
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Who
right?
do you think
know?
it is? You're calling me.
Yeah. But yeah, that's wild. I'd be out there right away with my telescope, because this is what I took from it.
Mm-hmm.
The guy saying it's a full moon, and I look out and I say it's a full moon. So we must be talking about the same night.
Yeah.
And he's saying, basically look towards Orion.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be on the roof or on the patio with my telescope immediately looking out that way.
Nick be out there like this,
Yeah.
creeping along.
Maybe he's like waving from a UFO. He's like, "Hi."
It could be. You know,
Yeah.
the other fascinating thing, and I think we covered this in a couple of podcasts ago, but if you think back, remember how difficult it was in like let's say 92 to like tap a phone
Yeah.
and know what's going on? That again plays into another podcast where we talked about all this. But,
Right.
you know, when you think about it, and then you think about what this guy is going through,
Mm-hmm.
like clearly they have like they didn't just learn this guy's mannerisms and enough to fool people. I mean, we're talking about fooling
Right.
people.
Yeah. Because he was fooling people.
His brother, his
Right.
best friend. These are people that know him well.
Yeah. They knew. I feel like from what they said, they thought something was up, but they
Right.
just thought he had a cold or something like that.
Right.
Like, so what I'd been interpreting up to this point is that they were calling him to study him, and anything that they didn't have other material to get from him, they were trying to like elicit it from him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of the impression I get too. It's a very weird thing though. Like when you listen to the story and you're like, what's the end game here?
Yeah. Yeah. What do they need him for?
Right. Like what's the entire point? Why out
Yeah.
of
Why
nowhere?
him?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this all happened out of nowhere.
Yeah. And he wasn't that important in the military from the
No.
sounds of it. Didn't you say he like ran a little store or something for them or
He did
something?
something for him. I forget exactly how they phrased it. I got the script here.
Yeah. It didn't sound like anything.
He's a
top
pharmacist.
secret. A pharmacist. There you go.
Yep, pharmacist on the base in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah. So he isn't like going down with spaceships under Area 51 or anything.
No.
He's just prescribing. Well, my boss was in the military. He said that they just prescribe foot powder for everything.
Oh, I'm sure.
They're like, you got a bullet wound, foot powder.
Fixes
You got a
everything.
headache, foot powder. Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none, boys.
Yeah. They just got a big barrel of foot powder out there. Doesn't matter what's wrong with you.
Yeah, it's fascinating though, because like with this story, like I go back and I think, you know, we talked about previous podcasts how difficult it was. So they're imitating this guy. It's difficult for him to hack in. He's able to do it well enough. And here's the thing, like, how did they figure out enough to fool other people?
Right. But it still seems when it calls him that it has trouble. And that kind of bothered me, because it's like they know enough to fool other people, but they can't fool him. Well, they can't. They've been learning how to be him. They can't be him to him.
Right. Yeah.
So they have no experience how other people talk.
But what if this isn't the same one that's imitating him?
It's just someone who gathers information.
I mean, what if they're trying to warn him against whatever is impersonating him?
It does seem like that from the first phone call.
Right.
Because it kept telling him that you're being impersonated by the other voice, or however that was phrased.
Yes. You're being impersonated by the first voice. Yes.
Yeah, that's how it was. I keep forgetting that phrasing.
Yeah.
But why tell him that if you were the one doing it?
That's what I'm saying. That doesn't make sense unless they're trying to fool him.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on your side.
And then, yeah, exactly. And the narrative, though, was also kind of like putting forward that it was almost like it was a weak signal that he was trying to hold on to and he just couldn't, or something like that. So
now another thing that's going to play into the end segment, and remember we said this in this segment, it's almost as though he didn't have the energy to say what he needed to say. It's like he was running out of energy.
Yeah, and that's almost like I had my original thought there. It's like someone who's drunk and really tired or something like that. Low energy kind of thing. Although I don't think it's a drunk at this point.
This is going to play into something that's going to be in the last segment that we've not covered yet.
I wonder if it's one of those robots from that UFO story you told where they were coming out and spreading gas and and I was going to fight them in that
with your bow and arrow up in the tree.
With my bow and arrow up in the tree. I wonder if it's one of those robots it's like running out of energy.
Could be.
But it sounds like we'll learn a little more when we get to the last episode here. But
we will. Yeah, the last, well, yes and no. It gives a different perspective on things that we've not talked about.
Right.
The series of phone calls is just a matter of what's going on, why are they doing this, what's the context. But I also think it's extremely spooky.
Yeah. I mean, even this one is less spooky.
Yeah.
Still spooky.
Oh, for sure.
And we got two more.
I believe, I believe it's
one more the same night and another one that happens the next night.
Correct. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This one was kind of hard to hear until he switched phones. I'm glad he did switch phones there. Although it's weird that the recording would change that way, but
yeah. I don't know necessarily that it was better with the phone switch. I just think that he had enough energy
to make himself known a little bit more.
Yeah, which is going to play into that last segment.
So he lives normally in Texas.
So yes, he lives in Texas. He's from New York. His family and friends are all still in New York.
It's weird. Every single time he leaves Texas, this stuff happens.
Isn't it funny?
Like it doesn't. Well, other than the helicopter when he was still at home.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just a.
In the first segment, it wasn't even him. It was his brother that dealt with it all. So for him, it was just his brother being weird.
Yeah, which is kind of odd though too, because his brother was at the wedding though.
Well, Gary was at the wedding for Stephen. It was Stephen's wedding. But
Stephen also saw other Gary heading towards the wedding.
Correct.
So I wonder if there was like any overlap where at some point there was two Garys at that wedding.
It's possible.
I mean, if it was a big wedding, which it sounded like.
It's a fun thought.
Yeah, that could happen easily.
Yeah.
They could have studied him there.
Could have very well studied him. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many different directions you can go with this story.
Right.
But the core is you don't know which way to go because there's so many things happening. And then you're trying to piece it together and you're like, this does not fit in this part of the story. But it's happening anyway.
And how much of this is distraction?
Right.
Like maybe they're doing this just to throw him off the trail entirely.
Correct. Which could be.
Which could very well be.
Right.
It's like trying to get them to stare out in space at night and the UFOs and stuff like that.
Because what if they do that just so they go outside and look up there and then they study his mannerisms?
Yeah. Or they go outside and they can kidnap them.
They could, because think about it. At that point, you're paying attention to what's in the sky, not what's around you.
Yeah, they just want you to go outside at night and then they can scoop you up.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it wasn't a good idea that I would go outside and look up at the stars.
It might not be a good idea, Nick.
Yeah, I gotta be more careful about, like, when I get spooky calls, I gotta stop running outside.
Yeah, don't go outside, Nick. Never go outside.
Yeah,
that's a death
you
trap.
get a spooky call, don't run outside.
We
like
learned that from the
guess.
Scream franchise, Nick.
That's true. She would have been fine if she didn't run
She
outside
would
like
have went
that.
outside. She would have lived.
Yeah, she didn't have to do that.
What's your favorite game, Sydney?
It's running outside.
I'm about to get
Track
marked.
and field.
Exactly.
Well, I guess it wasn't track and field. She didn't get very far.
She did not make it very far. Yeah, track and field was not her bang zone.
Yeah. Man, I wonder what it would feel like to be this guy and his older mother and father.
That's what I'm saying.
Probably out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. I mean, think about the mother and the dad, right? Your son is at your house and all of this, and even the last segment said it. The dad's thinking that it's not, Gary thereafter. It's him thereafter.
Yeah, I noticed it mentioned that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what his dad thought. His dad was like, this isn't even meant for you. Like, they're talking to you, but this is really meant for me.
Yeah, this is all the stuff I'm interested in.
Yeah. You don't even care about this stuff. And he makes it very clear.
Right.
He had no interest in UFOs, no interest in anything paranormal. He just was a regular guy that enjoyed regular guy stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly this, from what we know, this is all about him.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a real convenient distraction if they make it about the stuff that the parents are obsessed with.
Correct.
After them just having an experience, supposedly.
Correct.
So we've got a lot of theories in a lot of different directions. How do we narrow it down, Bert?
Well, we could listen to another segment and see if it gives us any more clues.
Oh, do you think we should? It's getting dangerous.
I mean, we're kind of like Scooby-Doo and the gang. We got to go in the mansion.
Zoinks, I guess we better.
And they would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those blasted kids.
That's right. That's right.
Let's see what they say here, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, it's taking time from the talk. Who is this? Stephen, this is not funny,
Brian, it's not Steven.
What do you mean, Brian?
I mean, Gary.
How do I know it's not Stephen?
It's not Steven. Hello? I had a UFO experience in West Virginia, which you probably know. And I know that you're into an intergalactic person. Can you speak a little louder? Sir? Can you speak a little louder? Louder?
Let me speak to him, Dad. I guess I don't know what.
All right, I'll hang up so you can talk to him. He wants to talk to you.
Okay. Hello, can I help you?
Hello.
Yes. Yes, that's me. Yes, could you please identify yourself? Identify.
Oh, you're back in Texas.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm in Texas right now. Oh, he asked me a question. No, I'm in New York right now. You know that. Why are you asking me such a question? Yes. Stephen, if this is you, I swear to God, I'm going to be pissed. I'm trying to listen to him. Excuse me? Okay. Eventually I'll be back from Texas. Could you speak more? Please speak more. I guess it's not Steven. I believe it because I'm getting static.
Not least 3 times.
Let me go on this phone because I can never hear on this phone. Hold on. Okay. Okay, please speak. Hello?
Keep an eye on the sky.
Okay. Should I go out right now?
Right.
Right now?
The full moon.
Okay, see, I'm not sure where Orion is now, but we'll go outside.
Show double from you.
It would show double from me. Repeat that again?
Gary clung to the idea that this was his brother Stephen playing an elaborate prank. He laughed it off whenever the phone rang, trying to keep a steady voice, hoping his father wouldn't catch the tremor beneath it. But each call had left him shaken, the air growing colder with each word that crackled through the line. By now, the voice on the other end was barely audible, slipping in and out of static, fading like a signal that was slowly being lost. Gary's father had picked up the other phone, listening silently, his ear pressed close to the receiver, each of them absorbing fragments of the ghostly phrases. They sat in the darkened house, 2 silent listeners to an impossible call from somewhere beyond their understanding. And then finally there was silence. No more static, no more faint murmurs. The calls stopped as abruptly as they had started, leaving a heavy, watchful quiet in their wake. Gary hung up slowly, his hand lingering over the receiver. His father muttered that it couldn't be a joke, not something like this. But neither man offered any explanation. They only exchanged a glance and quietly drifted back to their rooms. As Gary lay in bed, his mind reeled with questions. If this was a prank, it was disturbingly thorough. Yet each piece fit together with an unsettling precision. The phone call to Mike, the men in the airport, the voice on the phone that somehow knew of their conversation. Who or what could have orchestrated something so strange? And more importantly, why? The following day passed in uneasy quiet, but no more calls came. They began to think that perhaps whatever had disturbed their nights had finally faded. Then at precisely 10:21 p.m., the stillness shattered. The phone rang again, its shrill tone reverberating through the house like a warning, echoing through the walls. Gary felt a cold weight settle over him as he reached for the receiver.
Oh, another one of them cliffhangers.
I like to give him, Nick.
There was a lot on here. I think before I forget, I want to bring up the part that was almost most telling. It said something about double of you or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know exactly what it said at that point?
So what it said was that, and I'm going to double check to make sure I don't screw this up.
There's double from you or something like that.
Let's see here. Text speak more, please. Show me again. Go outside. I was showed double from me.
I was shown double from me.
That's what Gary said and repeat. So what he would have heard was what he thinks he heard. Because again, it's a little hard to hear, but basically it would show double to him. So when he repeated back, so to see double of me.
Yeah, I kind of heard the original voice. I thought it said something double from you, which is kind of like that doppelganger copy thing is what it made me think of.
Could be. Could be. All of you that's listening and or watching, go back, listen, and then put in the comments down below what you think it said.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. I'd like to get other people's opinions.
That's the thing. I kind of want to know what people think they hear.
Yeah, maybe with people with better hearing than we have.
Yeah, because I listen with
that.
studio headphones and I struggled to understand some of it.
Yeah, this one was a lot easier for me anyway than the previous one.
Yeah, the second one was just horrible.
Yeah. But this one, I could clearly hear the voice fading in and out of static and almost computerized signals, I thought.
Yes, that's what it sounds like.
Did you catch that too? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really did. And it does sound like it's slowing down, like those, like, you know, when you had the Teddy Ruxpin whose batteries were going out.
Right.
Like, it did seem like a lot like that. And of course, you'll probably have to look up Teddy Ruxpin if you're younger than us, but it was a bear that the mouth moved and you put a tape in its back and it would look like it's talking and saying that stuff on the tape. And of course, once the battery went dead, it would start slowing down like, I am Teddy. You know, and that actually, even doing it right now, it does sound like that.
It sounds like that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, is going on there.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't know what it truly is. Like, I have my speculations of what I think it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, what is even that sound? And then it's like, okay, well, that's clearly the sound. Then what's the static?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what the static sounds a lot like?
What?
It sounds a lot like, and we had sort of a similar one earlier here when we were on the break here, but if your cell phone is close to your speakers and you start to get a call, it will get that burr, 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 burr kind of sound. Man, I'm terrible at imitating that sound, but I think everyone knows. Everyone knows. Sounded like almost but like of course feed, back in them days,
like feedback.
Yeah. But back in those days, that definitely wouldn't have been a cell phone because I don't think that was.
No. And think about it.
I don't know.
It was all tied to, like, they had cell phones back then, but like you wouldn't have heard it on that phone line. Not like that.
Right, for sure. Because that was all analog phones.
I did find it funny that at the very beginning, the dad is just on the phone line, not saying anything, just listening. And then he's the one trying to talk. He's like, dang it, this is what I'm into. Why is he calling you for? Like, it's my house.
You can tell he really wants it to be about him. Like, he wants it to be an alien.
Like, I bet you anything, if Gary's dad had the option of getting, put up into a UFO and taken to a distant planet, he'd have been like, all in.
He'd been gone.
He'd have been gone.
But I do, now that I've heard these calls, like, anytime it wasn't Gary, it wasn't speaking to him.
Yeah.
Period. Like, and as soon as it would get back to Gary in like the first one where it was a little more energetic.
Yeah.
The moment he had the phone, it answered instantly.
Yes.
Which is one of the reasons we thought it wasn't a recording.
Right.
Back in the first one. So it's like, it's weird because it's literally not interested in the parents.
No.
But then it tells Gary things that the parents would be interested in.
Correct. Now,
and it did seem like it was trying to get him outside too.
Right. Now, the funny thing is when Gary talks about these moments,
right,
the first thing he talks about is he initially thought it was a prank.
Right. He was still thinking that.
Yeah, even now. Yeah. But as he's thinking it's a prank, he was thinking it was a tape recorder, like someone replaying a tape recorder. But he thought it was very odd because occasionally it had a very intellectual answer to what was being asked, which is definitely not a tape recorder.
Right. Right.
And he thought that was very odd. And you know what that reminds me of?
A lot of like robots and AI and stuff like that.
No, the story you told with the cell phones.
Oh yeah, where it would know things that it shouldn't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? Like, when you think of all the different things that this, like, we're literally going through like 7 or 8 of the different podcasts that we've done.
I know.
in this one episode.
And what is the meaning of it? We still don't have any good clues, but it does seem like something with doppelgangers and robots and UFOs.
Yes.
And Men in Black. Like, that's 4 things right there.
Right. And the funny thing is, we've got one other tape to go through. And then we've got a closing segment that just kind of gives some of it. But when you hear this closing segment, I know you're going to look at the camera and go, what?
It's one of those, huh?
It's one of those, yeah. And it makes no sense.
So wild. So we do a lot of episodes where things just don't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
But this one makes sense and it doesn't make sense.
At the same time, right?
Right. At the same time. Like I can string together a narrative, but I can't tell if it's right.
Right.
But I also feel like I have enough evidence that supports what I'm saying too.
Right.
Like,
and the thing that we don't think about when we do this is 1992.
Right.
Like, things are so limited in 1992 that half the stuff would be thrown out the window by default because we wouldn't have had the technology to even do it.
Yeah, it's true. Man, it would be really hard to make a clone of someone in the 90s too, because we were all wearing like neon track suits
with
stuff
green
like
and
that. Like,
orange.
where do you? Yeah, we were real individualistic back then. It would be hard to clone us.
Fluorescent. I had a cap that was fluorescent green.
I think I did too, but I thought it was yellow. But then again, I'm colorblind, so I don't know. It might have been the same.
Could have been the same.
But you remember everyone had those like plasticky feeling pullover tops?
Oh, yeah.
And most of them were like sports teams that no one liked.
Yeah, exactly. All this stuff that we don't do anymore is hilarious. For my channel, I've been going back and watching some ghost shows from like the 90s.
Right.
And it's so funny when they talk about different things. And I'm like, good night. Like, how crazy was it? Like, I went back and watched the Celebrity Paranormal Project. Have you ever watched that?
Right. No, I don't think I have.
So episode 1, what they do is they take 4 different known celebrities back then. They drop them at a haunted location and they make them investigate until the next morning.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, interesting show. They only had 1 season. But episode 1 had Gary Busey of all people.
Oh, really?
And Gary Busey.
That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, Gary Busey. It had Gary Busey. It had someone from Survivor, like the original Survivor.
Probably that Richard Hatch guy. He was quite a character.
No, it was a lady.
No. Oh, okay.
Who the heck was it? It was the lady, the blonde lady, I think.
I don't know it well enough to answer that question, I guess.
But it's so funny because they talk about stuff, but as I'm watching, I'm like, man, freaking Gary Busey was so weird back in the day.
He is still now. I'm pretty sure.
He was even weirder back then.
Well, here's a good example of how weird he is they used a deep fake of him and an AI voice to make him say all kinds of weird stuff. Do you remember this buttered sausage thing?
Hold on, I just scared the life out of myself. I went to see who it was, and I didn't know I had an audio file. I almost died right there. He had a what?
Well, they made a deep fake video of him in an interview and used like a cloning of his voice, and he was talking about buttered sausages, whatever that is. And he was behaving right crazy, and everyone thought it was him, and they wanted to do like wellness checks on him and stuff. But it turns out it was like AI, the whole thing. But he's so weird.
Oh, yeah.
That people couldn't tell it wasn't him.
Well, that's the thing. Episode 1 had Gary Busey, Hal Sparks. Do you remember Hal?
No.
Hal was on, there used to be Talk Soup. And he was one of the Talk Soup guys.
Okay. I don't think I know this.
The Survivor winner, which was Jenna.
Okay.
Jenna Maraska.
Okay.
And then
I probably knew if I saw her.
I didn't know who this person was, but Takara from America's Next Top Model and Baywatch. Or Baywatch had Donna. Is there 5 people? Maybe there was 5 people. So Donna.
I could tell this show wasn't, other than being a paranormal show, I wasn't the target audience for this.
I bet you would be. You would find it fascinating because they send them to the most haunted places in the world.
Yeah.
And they
Other
made
than
them
Gary
investigate.
Busey, though, they could have just chose 5 random people.
Yeah, probably so. Like episode 2 had Rachel Hunter, which I'm sure you know who that is. Because she was Stacy's mom. Stacy's mom.
Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Oh,
She was the
okay.
actual Stacy's mom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I would have recognized her if I saw her for sure.
They had the comedian Godfrey. Baywatch's Tracy.
Gilbert Gottfried?
No, Godfrey the comedian.
Oh, okay.
Gilbert was in one of the episodes, though. Gilbert was like episode 4 or 5. Gilbert Godfrey.
You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was so funny.
He
The
was.
Problem Child series, I love that.
They had Tracy Bingham. I'm not sure who that was. That was Baywatch again. But then I was so excited. I forgot about that guy. Tony Little. Do you remember Tony Little? Tony Little was the guy that did the workouts that was on TV. And he used to ride that machine where your legs would swoosh like you were on a ski rack. He had the long hair, long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was on that episode. And then they had the 5th person on that one was Ethan from Survivor.
Okay.
So
this was really, this is really coming in off of the what's it called? Reality TV stuff. That's who they're really after here.
Yeah, they had a decent amount of that, but they also had like the boxer, the guy that fought Tyson. That got his ear bit off.
Oh, Evander Holyfield.
Yeah, they had him in one of the episodes. They had like Gilbert Godfrey. Like they had some decent people in there.
They had some big names in there too.
Yeah. So
I do remember that in the early 90s, or was it mid 90s, there was a huge resurgence of paranormal shows.
It was at
like
the end of the 90s. Yeah.
Oh, at the end. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the end was crazy because they had Paranormal Lockdown. Or Paranormal. What the heck was the name of that show? Anyway, they had Taps. Taps started in the end of the 90s. This was at the end of the 90s. They had the one that had the guy that ended up being kind of crooked. I want to say it's like Paranormal something.
Is it the Paranormal State one? Or?
Yes, that's it. Paranormal State.
Yeah.
That
Zach
guy's
Baggins.
Oh no, that's
no. Am I thinking about the wrong guy?
Yeah. Zach Baggins, he was on. Now I need to look that up. Zach Baggins was a different show. Zach Baggins was, I think, unless I'm wrong, Zach Baggins is.
I know he gets a lot of flack from being real fake, but I don't know if it's the same guy.
Zach Baggins, the guy that always wears this medium t-shirts.
I think so.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's the guy that wears the glasses. He wears the freaking mask every time he goes somewhere.
Well, he also claimed that this haunted house that he bought made it so he needed glasses.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was about. But
who knows?
What happened in the late 90s that caused this resurgence?
I think what it was people became fascinated with like shows like Unsolved Mysteries and stuff. And the name of that show was Ghost Adventures.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, Paranormal. I can't believe.
Yeah, who is in Paranormal State?
Paranormal State was the guy I'm talking about. His name was Ryan Buell.
Oh, yes.
That guy was crooked. And everyone loved that guy. Everyone loved him. Because he had that psychic on his show all the time, Chip Coffey.
Boy, that is a name I've not heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chip Coffey. So not to go too far off this,
Right.
but anyway, he had a recent, like we're talking like a year ago, thing where they was going to do, like this convention. So it's going to be Buell, the lady that's now with Jack Osborne. I can't remember her name. Chip Coffey, like everyone that was on the show, they was going to do like this fan meetup. They got the booths. They got everyone to buy tickets. Ryan was promoting it. Like the day of, he canceled and kept all the money.
Oh, man, this guy's been a shyster for a long time.
He just went to jail not that long ago, too. Paranormal State Ghost Hunter Ryan Bueller arrested. This was in 2016, and he looked
didn't he go through a serious drug problem, too?
Yes.
Yeah. I watched a little mini documentary on TV about him.
Yes.
Like how he had like hit rock bottom and all that stuff. But I guess he's still not recovered because he's stealing.
You also had A Haunting that came out real heavy in the 90s, late 90s. So you had like A Haunting, Taps, Paranormal State, Celebrity Paranormal Project. Like it was like
Haunted Places was one we had here.
Yes.
There was some other ones too that like I kind of was into all those shows, and there's one where they you remember how I told the Jersey Devil story?
Yeah.
Which was kind of a weird one, stuff like that. Well, there was a group called the New Jersey Devil Hunters or whatever.
Yep.
And I like was messaging them and talking to them and stuff a lot. Like they weren't so famous at that point that they wouldn't respond to you.
Right.
So I was talking to them. I was fascinated with that story because it sounded spooky.
Oh, yeah. And think about it. We've covered a lot of the spooky, different spooky things on our podcast.
Yeah.
And they got to like a chance to like do it for a living. Like how crazy is that?
Right. I know. With the advancements we've made and how we've changed how the stories are done, I wish I would have held on to that one. I think I could have done a really better job at it. A much better job at it with how we do things now.
Which sucks because we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I'm definitely not going to redo it because it is how it is.
Yeah.
But I know that we're given sort of better treatment to the stories that we're doing now, which is really working out.
We definitely take a different approach, and the production level is significantly higher. But it's like last year when we did the Halloween special, which if you've not watched the Halloween special, you need to go back and check it out. It's
heck yeah,
amazing. But it's amazing because we're like, dude, we're cutting edge. And then everything we did in the Halloween episode, we kind of incorporated into the episodes after.
Yeah. It became regular business after a while.
And now this year we one-upped it again. And we've already kind of been playing around with video a little bit, but I think it just adds something to what we do. But it's like, where are we going to be at next year?
I know. VR entertainment podcast episodes.
Exactly.
No, I don't know.
Well, next year we're bringing right before Halloween our specials from our two hauntings.
That's how we're one-upping it.
That's the thing. It's like every year we one-up and do something different. Like when I go back and watch stuff from a year ago, I'm like, it's hard to believe that's what we came from.
I know. It's weird. Like if I do let someone I know in real life know about the podcast, I'm always like, okay, this is the podcast, but don't start at the beginning.
Yeah, don't start at the beginning. Yeah.
I want you to start 75% through, and then you can go back and listen to those later.
Right.
But don't start there, please.
But the crazy part is when we started.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound like I'm stuck up a little bit. But I still feel like the episodes we produced was better than podcasts who had been around for a while covering the same thing.
Oh yeah. I just don't think they were putting in the effort all the time. But I mean, still, that's everyone's opinion on that.
For sure.
But I mean, we definitely put effort into it, but we just didn't know what we know now.
No. And we're still learning. We're still adapting and learning.
Heck yeah.
Like the song at the end of this podcast. I just learned how to do that this week, the week of this podcast.
Oh, they're really cool too.
Yeah, they're really cool. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. But getting back,
stick around for that.
Yeah, stick around.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a little off topic here.
We went on a 90s tangent. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was back in the 90s, it's funny, and how I was tying this into Celebrity Paranormal Project is I was watching those FLIR cameras they had back then.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I can't even make out what they're looking at.
I know.
So it's like you look at stuff like that and you're like, look how far technology has came, especially when it comes to paranormal.
Oh yeah, FLIR's still a company and it is mega expensive.
Mega expensive, yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
even those back then were.
Oh yeah, I mean thousands of dollars for just a basic.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like they were pointing at beds and I'm like, that looks like a square. That does not look like a bed. So I don't know. Do you want to hear the very last phone call that would grace the ears of Gary and Gary's dad?
Yes, please. And I can't imagine that there's any possible way that you'll make further cliffhangers after this one.
You never know, Nick. You never know.
We'll see. I don't like it, Bert. I don't like it.
Let's see what happens.
Yes, this is me. Can I speak to you? Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is. Yes, that is me. Say that again?
This planet.
Leave?
We come
I'm staying right here.
to be within this planet.
Is this a joke or what?
To many. To be contact. As the same with you.
I have to think about that. I'd like to see you.
To many. To be contact. As the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference. Okay.
Interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them. Appears. Sun will rise from dark side of world. No.
The sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
Okay, what branch of the government? What should I do?
Beware.
Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
Yeah.
The line crackled with a familiar question, chilling in its repetition. Is Gary Sudbrink there? Gary steeled himself, preparing for the same stilted dialogue he'd endured on every call before. But this time, the voice diverged. It spoke in a low, fractured tone, delivering phrases that felt disconnected yet strangely ominous. Government interference, it murmured, came to be within the planet. Gary listened, each word twisting deeper into his mind, dredging up thoughts of his father's recent UFO sighting and the mysterious helicopter hovering outside his apartment. The voice continued, its cadence faltering, almost as though it was struggling to find the words. Watch the skies, the dark side of the moon. The words hung in the air, weighty and unsettling, like cryptic messages from a place far beyond reach. Gary glanced at his father, whose eyes were wide with belief. To his father, this was no prank. To him, these words carried warnings, signs of something greater, a hidden world just out of sight. Gary gripped the receiver tighter. The voice was beginning to fade, the static growing stronger, like a transmission from a distant star, and then in one final burst of sound, it was gone. Silence filled the house, heavier than before, but with a strange finality.
But that one was a lot louder.
Yes. Most of it was significantly louder.
Right. But there's something I wasn't expecting to hear there. There did sound like a tape rewinding in between some of those.
It did sound like that.
But there could have been other things as well.
Well, it also sounds like those UFOs, when it makes that wah, 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 wah sound that they always say. It sounds like the hum of a UFO.
I thought about that too. I'm kind of torn between which of those I thought it was, because it wasn't in between each one, and it wasn't really saying the same things over and over this time, so why rewind anything?
Correct. This is why I want people to go back and listen for themselves and put in the comments down below what they think they hear.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's for sure, it's the same voice on every single call.
For sure.
Like, there's no doubt about that whatsoever.
No doubt about it.
And this one was, well, one thing that you had said earlier is you thought it was like being cut off or something. And it kept talking about government interference and stuff this time. So I think that means something as well.
It also said the sun will rise on the dark side of the moon.
And it also says something about something in the earth, or
it said it comes to be in the earth.
It comes to be in the earth. Man, what could that mean? It's like putting together pieces of the puzzle, and the puzzle's just one big blue square.
Yeah, it said, it came to be within the planet, is his exact words.
It came to be within the planet. But with its grasp of knowledge, it could be itself, it could be something else, it could be...
Right. There's so many different options. I
know.
There's like no cut and dry answer to any of this.
No, my mind's reeling on like all the possibilities that it could be. It definitely seems alien related. I think we can... I would tie it to that.
Of all the things that we've covered in all of our vast podcasts, because we've covered quite a bit.
Right. Yeah.
What would you rule out that it couldn't be? Like of all the different podcasts we've covered, what have you not heard in this episode?
What have I not heard? I wouldn't say it was any necessarily demonic stuff or ghost stuff.
So no ghost, no demon.
No, no talking mongoose.
No talking mongoose, which technically falls in the demon category.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's debatable.
It could just be a doggone mongoose. Who knows?
He could be.
Just don't say his first name.
He said he's a very smart mongoose.
That is what he said. Yeah, cocky mongoose.
Yeah. Let's see. What else? Not a witch.
Yeah. It could
But
probably
technically
could be a
that
witch.
witch was a ghost.
Yeah.
The Bell Witch was a ghost, really.
Technically, yeah. Could be a very smart
Other than
witch.
that, could be a very smart witch, a very fine witch
like the
indeed.
mongoose.
Yeah. Other than that, I think it could be almost anything else that we've talked about. Maybe not a Mothman.
Yeah.
Wait, no. The Mothman did
Technically-
make weird calls, or someone did during that story.
Technically. You know what, Nick? Before we continue on, let's close it out real quick with a very last segment just to fill in all the blanks, and then we'll come back and we'll have this conversation.
The phone never rang again. Gary returned to Texas, his mind weighed down with questions that would go unanswered. He never saw the men from the airport again, and when he returned home, his apartment was untouched. But the unease lingered, a silent witness to the strange events that had unfolded around him. Over the years, Gary would rarely speak of the calls, as if fearing to give them more power by acknowledging them. He continued his life quietly, his fascination with UFOs deepening, fueled by that brief, incomprehensible connection to something unknown. On rare occasions, he would mention other strange occurrences, lights flickering in his apartment, objects moving without explanation, whispers just beyond hearing. But he never sought out attention, never tried to profit from the events. It wasn't until over a decade later at a UFO conference that he finally shared his story. A woman named Sue Swiatek had given a talk on the elusive men in black, mysterious figures often associated with UFO sightings. After her presentation, Gary approached her, his face somber, and handed her a CD. "These are the recordings," he said simply, his voice tinged with the shadows of that strange February night. Gary's story would eventually find its way into the world, told in fragments at conferences and in whispers online. But for Gary, the recordings were only memories now, echoes from a night he could never fully understand, and a voice he hoped he'd never hear again. And as time passed, the world around him continued on, none the wiser to the strange transmission that had once haunted a small family in the shadows of a winter night in New York. For some, the mysteries of the cosmos remain just that, mysteries. But for others, the unknown reaches out, calling, leaving only faint traces of its existence, whispers from the dark, and sometimes those whispers are just deceptive reality.
Look at you fitting the title of the podcast in there.
That's what I do.
That's clever. I like that.
So the interesting thing is, Nick, he goes home, and what's he deal with at home?
Flickering lights and whispers and stuff. So, okay,
Whispers.
maybe we have to bring those demonics back
Things
in there.
moving around the house and poltergeist activity.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
not
I guess
UFOs,
it covered everything except witches and mongooses.
unless they're demons.
Unless they're demons.
You know something I find interesting, though? Think
What?
back to the interview that we had with Joe. And one of the conversations we had in that interview is that a lot of times he believed that these were interdimensional beings that we would typically call alien.
Right. Which this, I think, would clearly fall under that.
He goes back
category.
home. He has no haunting. If you took everything else out of it, and
Right.
Gary told his story, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm at my house. I hear whispers. Occasionally, things move inside my house. The lights flicker." We would say that's classic poltergeist activity.
Right.
But then when you add everything else,
I know. But if you add the first story, what is even that? If you talk about him being cloned or something like that, or being copied, what is that?
this is legit dang near every podcast we've ever created all in one story.
I know. This covers a lot of stuff. I'm surprised there wasn't any mentions of owls.
I know. I know. Them freaking owls. But that's the thing. If you tell the story, people goes, that didn't happen. But then when you hear the phone calls, you're like, well, it happened. But what is it?
Yeah. Man, I wish more people had the presence of mind to record these kind of things.
Yes.
A good example of that, and this is, it's on the topic, but not really paranormal or anything, is for weeks, people had been recording like some snapping, like banging sounds, and they said, oh, it sounds like gunshots.
Yeah.
Well, everyone was like, oh, it's fireworks or kids banging on signs, because around here we don't really have, gun violence or anything like that. And anyway, I have a friend who is sort of like, he's like a minority. So sometimes people pick on them occasionally, which is completely disgusting. But he was on the phone with one of his relatives, and he misses them, so he makes a point to record these calls.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have never believed it, but he said someone went by and fired a handgun out the window 4 or 5 times, and I would never have believed him if it wasn't caught on the phone recording that he had.
Oh, yeah.
And this story we just listened to, no one would ever have heard of it if this guy hadn't made the recordings.
Right. Because it just sounds like every other paranormal story that you hear.
Yeah. It's just like, without the recordings to back it up, it's just like, what does this tale mean? Like, there's not more to it. We don't know that this even happened. And if it didn't happen, why is he making it up?
Right. None of it makes sense.
So like, this kind of thing is so valuable when you come into these investigations, because you can hear in his voice, he's not acting. He's like,
yeah, he's frustrated.
Yeah, he's frustrated. Wouldn't it be awful if all these years it was Steven?
Steven's like, remember that time you locked me in the bedroom? This is payback.
Yeah, I got you.
I got you so good. There's a movie where that happens. I can't remember. Like, someone got someone back after, like, it was from like 25 years ago. He's like, I got you back. It was a scary movie, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh, was it? Well, I know in that movie Dumb and Dumber, or the sequel Dumb and Dumberer or whatever.
Yes.
It was called.
Yes.
He faked being in a like comatose state for like 20 years just to get a prank on the other guy.
Exactly. That's kind of what this would be like.
Yeah. Or I can picture like it's, yeah, it is. It really is.
Because it's like, could it be like someone pulling a prank? Like,
yeah.
But in the same regard, how do you, like, a prank can be elaborate, but like the part that no one talks about, the driving to the wedding and the brother mentioning seeing Gary, like, no one's going to go that deep into an elaborate joke. And even the cosmetics for like the skin back then, like, masks were horrible back then.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, if you try to go make a mask yourself, you're not going to do very good on it anyway. Right. That's like a very specialized skill.
Right.
Like, I couldn't even do good makeup for my Halloween costume, and that was just trying to look weird. Oh, it was so messed up, dude. I had cheap stuff. It was just a mess.
Looked good to me. You look scary. Look scary to me, Nick.
Well, that's what I was going for, so thank you. I was calling people that night. I was like, oh, you're being copied. And
oh, Ryan, look.
Yeah, look to the skies.
Sun comes up on the dark side of the moon. That's crazy.
Didn't you wonder where all those calls were coming from? Is Bert there? Bert.
Dude, that would be so creepy.
When you going back to Texas.
That's the weird thing too, because like you got the airport stuff. Like, how'd they even know he's going to the airport?
Right. I mean, if you, like you said, some people don't tell those parts of the tale. Like, that's silly.
Yeah, that's all. That's what makes the entire. Like, if we just
that's important.
If we just did the phone calls, it would be like and I'm sure at some point we'll bring this to our podcast, I'm sure. It would be like Mad Max or Mad Headstrom.
Yeah.
You know, that made no sense, but think about it would be just like that airing on TV.
Right.
That's the story.
Like on its own, none of this means anything.
Yeah, none of it means anything. But when you tie
it's
all
just
together,
those are just prank calls.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes it really compelling. And I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't cover all of this.
No.
Because he left. No one knew where he was going. People met him at the airport.
Yes.
People went onto the plane. And like I said, you can't just walk onto a plane. Even in 92.
No.
You couldn't just walk on and off planes.
No. You had to have
like
your stuff.
Right. So when he was talking to him at the airport, it was probably past the security checks. So that means that guy would have had to pay for a flight somewhere.
Right.
The other guy would have had to pay for a flight somewhere. What an elaborate prank that you're never going to give the punchline for.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense.
Right. Like someone would have told him by now, like, haha, I got you.
I would assume so. But again, like when you pull a prank, there's got to be a punchline to it. Like there has to be something where you go, gotcha. But there was never a gotcha.
Right.
Ever.
No. And this person spent hours of their time
learning,
doing this,
manipulating
for nothing.
For nothing.
For nothing. That anyone can tell. Nothing.
Right. This might be one of the weirdest stories we've told.
It is, but it's so cohesive in its own way.
Yeah.
That I absolutely believe it happened.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we got the tapes. There's no way he faked that. There's no, his dad, the way his dad reacted, his uncle was in the last tape.
Oh, his dad wanted it to be true and about aliens so bad.
Yeah. Are you you're an intergalactic person? It's like, what?
Yeah.
Intergalactic person. What?
Like,
Dad, stop.
No. Yeah. I thought he was like joking around at that part. And I think he was joking around.
I don't think so.
But then in the next tape, you could hear in his voice his excitement over it.
Yes.
And then he was like disappointed. He's like, oh, I'll let him talk to you. He only wants to talk to you, I guess.
Right. I felt bad for his dad.
Yeah.
His poor dad, man.
But in the last ones, they were really trying to get them to go outside, and they never did because the narrative said they just went back to their rooms after.
Right.
So it might have been a whole different story, or we may never have heard the story if they had gone outside.
Could have been. It absolutely could have been.
Maybe that was the whole point of everything.
Could be.
Was to get them outside that night, and where it didn't happen, they were just like, okay, well, plans aborted.
Right.
Who knows? So much speculation. How would we ever know?
It's a crazy story. What sets you at home? What do you think happened? Do you think this is a case of, I mean, choose your favorite mystery. Was it UFOs? Right. Was it Men in Black? Was it ghosts and demons? Mm-hmm. I mean, how many things have we covered?
What the heck is this?
What the heck is it? What do you think it is? Do you think it's the government? This thing said that there's government interference.
Yeah. It didn't say that for its health.
No, it didn't say that for its health. But tell us in the comments down below. I'm dying to know what other people think this is. And have you heard of this story? That's my next question. I don't think a lot of people's heard this story.
Oh, they should. I'm shocked. Because like you said, this is related to so many topics we've done.
Yeah. How does it not come up more?
Right. I never heard a peep of it.
The government's covering it up.
Government interference.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully y'all enjoyed this podcast. I know I love telling it. It's a fun story. As I said, it's a two-parter. You're listening to the second part. But hopefully you absolutely love it. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe wherever you're listening to your favorite podcasts. Until we see you on the next podcast. Government interference. Goodbye.
Is Bert there? Goodbye.
gone blank. A voice on the line, my heart just sank. It speaks my name, it knows my face. I'm tied to this moment, lost in its embrace. Oh, the words are sharp and hollow. Oh, they leave a trail I can't follow. Who's on the line? What do you want? The questions I ask are left to haunt. Your voice is cold, so cold and out of place. But I feel your breath like it's face to face. The static grows, it fills my ears. You know my life, my doubts, my fears. How long will you stay? The tone's unclear, but every word drips with something to fear. It echoes in the silence. A whisper wrapped in violence. Who's on the line? What do you want? The questions I ask are left to haunt. Your voice is cold and out of place, but I feel your breath like it's face to face to face.
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
What? Who is this?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Why do you know me? Why do you care? Your voice keeps calling, but no one's there. The signal fades, then comes alive, and I wonder if I'll survive. Who's on the line? What do you need? You pull me apart, you make me bleed. Your words take shape, but leave no trace. And I feel your breath like it's face to face. How long will you stay? You're being impersonated by the other voice. You're being impersonated by the other voice.